So today we will begin talking about L'Oreal, the Beyonce of beauty companies. I decided to call L'Oreal that because they are completely dominating the world. They are in over 140 countries and have headquarters around the world. And not only that, they are the number one company in beauty and cosmetics. But before we talk about how we got there, how L'Oreal got there, we should start with its beginning. L'Oreal started in 1909 by Eugene Schuller. He was a young chemist, and he actually developed one of the first hair dyes. So after that, he decided to sell it to Parisian salonists, and it just got so widely popular that he started to expand to Austria, Holland, and Italy in 1912. By 1920, he was over in 17 countries, including the United States. And in 1928, L'Oreal acquired its first brand, Mont and this was really important for L'Oreal because it was the company. It was their first move into diversification into the beauty community. And as time goes by, they launched multiple different products. They actually start to distribute in the US. And then in 1964, it acquires Lancome. And this is really important, and we'll go through why acquisitions are important to L'Oreal. But acquiring Lancome opened it up to the luxury and high-scale clientele. And then throughout that time, L'Oreal has effectively acquired many other companies, including Garnier and Caratis, which were actually competition companies. Here is a graph that just kind of shows L'Oreal's acquisitions and kind of growth throughout history. As you can see, it actually doesn't show Mont but it does show it started at Lancome, which is its first big sale. As you can see, it boosts the company into billion-dollar euros. And from then on, you just see an upward growth of L'Oreal throughout the years. However, we will be talking about a very specific period in L'Oreal's globalization and development and growth, and that will be around the new century, as you can see where the arrows are pointing to kind of towards 2000 to current day, and we'll be specifically focusing on L'Oreal's Asia development. So now that we understand L'Oreal's first beginnings, let's now talk about its global beginnings in Asia. So in 1986, L'Oreal actually built its first factory in Jakarta, Indonesia. It was then after that it was actually kind of stagnant in the Asian markets. It really didn't grow, really didn't acquire any companies. It was very stagnant. It was very focused on Europe and North American markets. If you go back to the graph that we showed showing its acquisitions, you can kind of see where all of its companies came from. A lot of them were French companies. L'Oreal prides itself on being a proud French company, but you really still start to see its development in Asia actually in 2004 when the European markets start to decline. This was because it was technically the recession started in 2007, but markets did start to decline in 2004 in Europe. And at this point, they were now looking for new markets to kind of come into just because their numbers were becoming so small and they were losing so many products, definitely in the their luxury brands like Lancome, which has always been a very profiting business for them, a profiting brand. So after this, they start to look for new markets to access, and that's when it comes in, acquires the Japanese brand Shuyu Uemura. Shuyu Uemura is actually the biggest Japanese brand, so its acquisition was really, really iconic for L'Oreal in terms that it opened it up to new markets. And then the brand actually gained about 4 billion in profit just by the acquisition. And then in 2007, the Great Recession hit. Fortunately for L'Oreal, it actually didn't see any decline because of the Great Recession, and a lot of this is because of its entering into the new Asian markets. Just to kind of prove this point, I am showing this graph right here where it's the GDP growth by region. So as you can see, Latin America went really low, same with Europe and North America. However, a lot of the Asian countries recovery was a lot faster, and the recession's impact on it was smaller. So L'Oreal, seeing this, decided, okay, we need to enter this new market. We need to really develop here because this is going to be a more consistent market for us compared to I think they were thinking of it as if another recession hits, if another economic disaster hits, we know that Asia right now has the ability to bounce back faster and recover faster. So going back to this slide, after the Great Recession and it's being able to, it's seeing that Asia is recovering faster than a lot of other continents, and a lot of Asian countries are recovering faster than some of its large counterparts like the US, like France, like the UK. So then it decides to build its largest factory in Indonesia. So L'Oreal, being a French brand, has mainly built its factories in Europe, actually. It hasn't really outsourced, it hasn't really done anything like that. It's been a very, very European-based brand with only a few other factories in America, the US. So then after this, it decides to acquire Magic Holdings. This was really a big, big acquisition for L'Oreal because Magic Holdings is actually the #1 skincare brand in China. And this was very important because once again it's about diversification and them being able to penetrate beyond beauty and beyond cosmetics in the Asian markets. So now you can really see where L'Oreal has developed. Um, you can see that a lot of once again, a lot of their companies, a lot of their production sites, headquarters are in Europe. It's one of those brands that haven't outsourced. They've really kept it local. A lot of their raw materials are locally gathered. They don't really outsource or offshore. So a lot of it is still in Europe. But as you can see, there's been high development in Asia, a lot more than the US actually. And there's been some recent develops in South America as well. So going over that, we kind of talked about the how, but to get more into it, I called this a maybe they were born with it, maybe they acquired it, just because Maybelline is actually one of the brands that L'Oreal has acquired. But that's pretty much it. They've done it through acquisitions. They haven't on their website, it very clearly says our global strategy is acquisitions. So, and they've done that very successfully. So here you can see many of the brands that L'Oreal owns. It has L'Oreal Paris, it has L'Oreal Professional, which are just sub-factors of their original brand. But once again, they have Lancome, Shu Uemura, Vichy, which is actually a skincare, same with La Roche-Posay and Skin Cuticles. They have perfumes like Yves Saint Laurent and Giorgio Armani. They dabble in nail polish like Essie, and professional salon hair care like Matrix and Kerastase. The thing I most enjoyed about researching L'Oreal was actually their human rights policy. They are a very moral and ethic company. They pride itself on um, making sure that any of their contractors are also following human rights policy. They do not contract out to people that do not agree to follow human rights policy. They also are the #1 company in sustainability, and they are the #1 company in gender equality. Over 60% of women run their brands, and 49% of women are actually on their governor boards. So this is a company that really prides itself in human rights, and doing research, comparing it to other countries that have child labor forces or child labor. That's actually one of the main things as well. They refuse to contract anyone that even deals with child labor. They have very strict rules on that. So this is very comforting to know that when you buy from L'Oreal, you are buying something that is ethic and morally correct. And I think that's really important because as we look at L'Oreal's global trends compared to different economies, you can see that it's actually progressed better than economies. I know it's actually beating the French economy as well, but as you can see, it has always been on an up to, um, it's been on a progressive incline since its start, and as you can see, it did not hit any bumps along the way during the recession compared to other global economies. So knowing this and knowing that they also are they're sourcing out to ethic companies, they're using sustainable raw materials, that they are an ethic company, knowing that they're still beating global trends, I think this will start a global trend of massive companies wanting to follow their example. You don't have to outsource, you don't have to offshore, you don't have to um, you don't have to partake in child labor to still be a number one company, and L'Oreal proves that.